the penultimate championship of the world here in Antalya, and what a cracking competition. We've got the Olympic champion, the Olympic silver medalist, the Olympic bronze medalist. In fact, the first 4 men who met in Sydney meet again tonight, and there's just 5 kilos separating them based on their Olympic performances. So a really good championship in progress, and there's a dark horse, a spoiler amongst the whole pack. We're going to meet the finalists here in a moment, but the man I was just referring to is called Vladimir Shmochkov of Russia, and earlier today he snatched 198 kilos. I'll explain that in a minute. As you see, Bunyas Sudas of Turkey, he was the Mediterranean champion. That's Razorenov of the Ukraine who won the last 2 world championships in this weight category. The Olympic champion, Tavakoli of Iran. Next to him, the junior world bronze medalist, Garipis of Greece. And to his left, Metin Kadir, European champion 2 seasons ago. Then Hungary, represented by Zoltan Kovac, 3rd in Europe this season. Poland's man, Robert Doleja, 2nd in Europe, not this year, but last year. Vyacheslav Ivanovsky of Russia, but did once upon a time live for Israel. Won the European title in '98. Bratin of Moldavia, 6th in the Olympics. And then Florin Vlad, no relation to Nicu Vlad, the coach for Romania. And then Alpak for Turkey, the man who didn't total in the Olympic Games. And finally, Alan Chagayev, the Olympic silver medalist. The other man who could have been here, who isn't, is Yevgeny Chigushev, who won this year's European title in Trenchin with a total of 422.5 kilos, but Chigushev not here to compete, apparently not in training. So, let me come back to Shmochkov, because he's the key man. He snatched 198 kilos to actually extend his own snatch record, which stood at 193.5, and he extended it up to 198, David. Well, here he is. This was him earlier in the day. And the other significant thing about him, he weighed in at 103.24 kilos on this 105 kilo class. And that's Shmochkov getting 198 kilos and setting a new world record. He then went on to clean and jerk 225 kilos to give him a total of 422.5. And David, your thoughts are that he's the man to beat.
Well, that's right. The significance is that A, he did 22.5 kilos more than he had posted, and B, his body weight's very light. So all of these athletes have to total, well, apart from the Greek, have to total 425. And looking at the start list, I'm not so sure if how many people, if anybody, is going to do that. And
just to emphasize what you're saying, David, it took Tavakoli 425 kilos to win the Olympic title. So welcome once again to this men's 105 kilo competition, 231.5 pounds, a little bit over 16.5 stone. David Goldstrom together with David Morgan in the Dilek Sabanci Sports Centre just outside the centre of Antalya. It's been a lovely day. We've got the Olympic champion, the Olympic silver medalist, the bronze medalist from Sydney, and the 4th place man all here to do battle once again. We get underway now with Garipis of Greece. First snatch, 167.5 kilos. Good effort, but he's very much the baby in terms of experience here. Garipis, the bronze medalist in the Junior World Championships earlier on this year, where he snatched 157.5 kilos. And David, he started 10 kilos up on that mark.
Yes, well, he's part of an ever-improving Greek youth team.
And if you have just come in, let me emphasize that there's one man, Vladimir of Russia, who set a new snatch record of 198 kilos, total 422.5 kilos. He was put in the B division. He was the existing world record holder for the snatch, and 422.5 kilos. That is going to take some catching tonight. So Zoltan Kovacs, and it really does emphasize the fragility really of the present system of drawing people into the A group. I mean, there's a coach. He entered him for a total of 400 kilos. The man's returned 422.5, and so much of these entry totals are based on past performances of 6 months and more ago, and it's completely ridiculous, David. I mean,
that's right. I mean, for somebody to beat him in the snatch now, they've actually got to break the world record again, and the likelihood of that happening, in my opinion, having looked at the start list, is almost zero.
So now Zoltan Kovacs, I have to say, fortunately, our colleagues from Turkish television were alert and captured that snatch attempt, the successful snatch world record. So well done to them this morning for being awake to that. 172.5 kilos for Zoltan Kovacs. And that was strong, no problem. But just to emphasize, 172.5, we're a long way from 198 kilos. I mean, I still think, David, that we ought to be basing these totals on which they enter on the condition of the lifters today, not their condition of many months ago, which means a sealed entry list whereby they have to put their start weights in for both snatch and clean and jerk. There's an allowance for the lighter weights of 2.5 kilos, heavier weights of 5 kilos, by which they can start 2.5 or 5 kilos below or above the entry amount that they give, and that's it. And that, I believe, would be a system that would deliver a more accurate start list. So Garipis now Greece's second attempt, and he didn't get that high enough.
No, he was nowhere near. First lift was good, and as you said, it was 10 kilos more than he'd done earlier in the year, but that, no, it just looked too heavy. Tried to, well, he pulled it from the floor, realised how heavy it was, and tried to get it under before finishing.
I mean, there are safeguards. I mean, we used to have the situation where lots of coaches, put inflated weights in because they wanted to get their man on television by getting him into the A final. But you now have to finish you have to achieve within 20 kilos of your total, or you're disqualified. So, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't some safeguards, but the problem is it's far from a foolproof system.
Well, the guy that totaled earlier on this afternoon put 400 in and did 422.
Yes, but it's the other way.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You've got to have an upper as well as a lower limit.
Well, that is difficult because it's very easy for an athlete to be 20 kilos down on their total. If they only get their opening, it's more complicated.
Now, it looks as if Garipis is going to follow himself because nobody else wants 172.5 kilos, which gives me a few moments. If you were with us earlier for the women's competition, you may have heard me say that the World Anti-Doping Agency have found 4 positive tests in respect of Nigerian weightlifters. That's been confirmed to us in an official press release by the Weightlifting Federation, and as of this coming Monday, the 12th of November, the Nigerian Weightlifting Federation will be suspended for a year. However, the young woman who got her bronze medal earlier this afternoon, that will stand.
Yes, and of course the significance of that banning is that the Nigerians would have been a very, very strong force in the Commonwealth Games in Manchester next year, especially in the women's competition.
Once upon a time, there was a possibility in the rules where you could pay a fine and reinstate your Federation. As my understanding is that that's all history, and very good to hear that it is history and you can't buy your way out of a suspension. It's tough and it's very hard on some of the lifters who have behaved themselves, but it is the correct thing. We need an aggressive policy. There is also still to be confirmed a report of 4 Tunisians who've also been found positive. There is a press conference tomorrow here at 1:15 before the super heavyweight class. We'll attend that, and tomorrow we'll bring you up to date with all the details. It's always sad when it happens, but the good news is that the aggressive policy of the International Weightlifting Federation in conjunction with WADA, it is working because it's caught people who've been cheating.
Yes, and let's hope that many other sports will follow.
Now, Metin Kadir.
Take the same hard line.
Metin Kadir of Bulgaria, opening up here on 180. Represents Bulgaria. Just a couple of footnotes on the doping story. It may be by coincidence, David, but Bulgarian coaches involved in both Nigeria and Tunisia. And the other irony is that if the World Championship dates for next year stay the same, they are at the moment currently for the end of November. Nigeria's one-year suspension will actually end just prior to the World Championships in Poland. So
they'll just be missing the Europeans and effectively the Commonwealth Games.
But having said that, missing the Commonwealth Games is a big punishment. And a sad loss for us in Manchester as well.
Yes.
Well, except and who you were thinking you might meet in the 77 kilo final. That's Robert Deleja, 180 kilos. Now he's interesting because his younger brother was in action, Marcin, earlier today, totaled out at a 405, and he actually snatched 185 kilos. Marcin is 19, Robert is 23. Marcin, junior world champion this year in Saloniki. And here's the man who's got the same name as his coach, who's lurking behind him, Vlad. So it's Florin to lift and Niku to watch.
So a failure for Vlad. Didn't look heavy, just didn't quite fix overhead there. So a wasted attempt. The bar still on 180. Remember earlier on, 198 kilos was snatched, and we're halfway through this A final, and we're still 18 kilos off the mark.
Yes, Vladimir Shmoshkov of Russia, the former world snatch record holder, extending it from 193 up to 198, of which 197.5 counts for the championship.
I think the junior world record was 193. I think the senior was 197.5, because it would make no sense to go 198 if it was 193.
Well, actually, totally right, and actually established the world record, because the world standard was 197.5, and nobody had ever achieved that.
Right, so he's actually put his name to a world record.
Exactly. The yet to be established is the world total standard, which is at 440, and the clean and jerk, which is 242.5. Alan Chigayev, the Olympic silver medalist, opening on 180 kilos.
He looks to be in trouble, actually. I've seen him much stronger than that. To go into a very, very deep squat with this. Looks right on his limit. Look, the buttocks just maybe only a centimetre from the floor. So really having to go into a deep squat. And it makes you wonder how much further he can go. The flexibility.
Next to the Vladimir from Romania.
So Zoltan Kovacs now.
Yes, came in on a very convincing 172.5 and has decided to jump 7.5 kilos.
Well, still, of course, the Olympic champion and also the Ukrainian Razarenov to start. Sudas of Turkey and also Alpak. So there are plenty to come, but as you say, David, we're still 18 kilos away from the best of the day. And in fact, still in second place is the young Doleja brother, Marcin, with 185 kilos. So 3 men at the moment from the B division today still heading the rankings. He's got one more chance.
Yes, so 180 proving too heavy on this occasion. But as you say, he's got one more lift left.
Romania, 180 kilograms, ikinci kaldım. Number 10, Vladimir from Romania, 180 kilograms, second attempt. Next to it is Zoltan Kovacs.
So Florian Vlad, just 20, one of Niku's new group of young juniors, 9th in Europe this year, and this is 5 kilos up on the amount that he lifted in Trenčín, but he did achieve this in Sydney. That's good, but it is his second lift, so he's going to be well short of the Russian.
And he says as he walks off, why didn't I do that in the first place?
So Zoltan Kovacs has got a third attempt to come.
Altı numara Zoltan Kovacs, Macaristan, 180 kilogram, üçüncü kaldım. Number 6.
Good crowd in on this Saturday evening in Antalya. Just about 8:15 here on what has been a pretty nice day. Nice and sunny, and compared with, I think, a lot of you back home, rather warm. I've been hearing about some rather chilly temperatures back home. So half a minute, and this is about as far as he's going to go, 180 kilos, if he does it.
Yes, he's going to have to keep his back tight and really just keep extending on that pole.
So, 24-year-old law student in Budapest. Oh, he was a million miles away from that.
Yes, which is unfortunate because it leaves him on 172.5, so perhaps he would have been better to have taken a 5 and then a 2.5.
Well, there are 3 lifters from the B division, David, who are better than him. Now, the next man posted to come on stage is Bunyamin Sudas. Now, you've been quite impressed with the progress that this man's made recently.
Well, I remember him in Riza doing lifts of 155 and 195.
Now let's put it into context. He lifted in the Mediterranean Games 177.5 kilos. And that was, in fact, it's Chagayev who's coming out before him. Chagayev now, the Olympic champion. Now, usually looked as if he was right on his limit. And this is 182.5, which is 5 kilos short of his best. Lifts in the German Bundesliga, like so many of the East European athletes. It's a way of earning a living.
This doesn't look as physically impressive as normal. His body fat looks higher. He's normally a lot more muscular.
Only got the silver medal by virtue of lighter body weight in Sydney.
Yes, his flexibility is almost too good. Watch how low he goes. Well, I thought that first lift looked very, very heavy. I thought he looked right on the limit, and I wasn't at all surprised when he only took a jump of 2.5.
Well, this makes you wonder, put in as a 420 kilo man. by his coach.
Well, he's done those lifts. He's done 187.5 and
absolutely. I mean, he's done 422, but he's put in his 420. But you know, what I'm saying is, you know, what condition was he? You know, is he in? Was he in? And this is where the weakness of the system.
But it's still hard to say though, because okay, he might snatch 182.5, which will mean he's 5 kilos behind his best ever. But it's possible to be 5 kilos from one day to the next. It's you know, you could just be having an off. He may have been in great condition and done 190 in training, and then come in today and just warmed up and everything just felt heavy. I mean, it does happen.
So does that mean that we should be having an entry system which is done every night for the night before us?
Well, I think it's more complicated because the last week, I mean, the lifters will do their heavy lifts probably 10 days before the competition, and then the last week will be a gradual taper. So in some ways, you really don't know. You really don't know exactly what you're going to do until the warm-up, as you saw with Mark Huster earlier in the week. You know, said training had been great, just as good as it was before the Olympics. Snatched 177 at the Olympics, only managed 167.5 here. That's sport.
185 kilos, runs under the bar, but he couldn't run quick enough to correct his position, and that's a failure, not a success. Now that's 7.5 kilos up on his Mediterranean Games effort.
I was just about to ask what his PB is, because I don't think I've ever seen him snatch this kind of weight. Has he done 185?
He's done 180, but to my knowledge, he hasn't done 185.
Number 3, Hossein Tavakoi from Iran, 185 kilogram first attempt. Next to me, Abdulaziz Alpak, Turkey.
So here's the Olympic champion, Hossein Tavakoli, starting at 185. Well, at least, David, compared with a couple of Iranians from previous evenings, he's starting on what one would consider to be an achievable mark.
Yes, this was the man who I saw in the training room, and he just didn't look. He was made 130 kilos in the snatch look heavy.
Well, he did 190 in Sydney, but as we've said, you really do wind yourself up for the Olympic Games. But it is the Olympic Games out there tonight, because all the principals are back together. 185, can't see him getting to 198, can you?
I can't see anyone getting to 198, but
and we've seen generally the Russians have come here in very good form, very well prepared, particularly the women. Albina Komic, another overall champion earlier today.
But actually, this is the man that I was talking about earlier, who did 155 and 195 in Riesa. He's made fantastic improvement.
Right, but he did have 3 clean and jerk failures in Sydney. He is vulnerable. Now, I think he's starting on his best mark here, 185. Home is Ankara, the Turkish capital, and the major training centre for the elite Turkish lifters. And the house is pretty well full tonight. He done. 2 Turkish lifters, 2 failures, generous applause, but
looks as if he's done something to his right elbow. He's got one of those sort of arm locks where his arms don't actually appear to lock, but they are locked.
So Metin Kadir coming in to try and take the weight that he succeeded with 2 seasons ago on his way to winning the European title.
На всеки цемети.
So 185. Second attempt. So he fails with 185.
An email in from Thomas Kouros-Alanov. Thanks again. Couple of questions. Florian Vlad related to Niku? No, not at all. Just happened to have the same name. The other thing is Alan Chigayev is Ossetian. Ossetian never gets a mention, you're saying. Timur Tamazov used to same as Timosov, he used to represent the Ukraine. I know Chigayev.
Chigayev is not injured or anything. He's just not training at the moment, according to the Russian.
No, this is a different man. He's talking about Alan Chigayev, who is in the field.
Right.
And I think was he not originally Russian and now went to Bulgaria? I think that's the point. Robert Doleja, 185 kilos.
Yes, so he breaks the chain of failures.
But that is his second attempt, and assuming he could take another 5 kilos, it would still only get him to 190. And he's gone into second place in the snatch. Schmorzkopf with still that outstanding 198 kilos. Robert Doleja from Poland, 185. The Olympic champions in third place, also 185. And then Marcin Dolega, Robert's younger brother, is now in fourth place ahead of yet another B group lifter, and this is Rafik Chakoyan of Armenia. So Sudas, second attempt. I've seen this happen so many times with this man, David. Too many failures, too many mistakes. He's under pressure now, and it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't make the third one.
Wouldn't surprise me if both the Turks went out on the snatch, actually.
Well, clearly he's prepared to take that way. There's a picture there of Kenan Nuruk, the president of the Turkish Weightlifting Federation. I'm sure he's pretty concerned because his other man is coming out now, and he faces exactly the same question. Inevitably, David, the expectation of the crowd is so high, so the pressure's even greater on these men.
Well, I just wonder if he did some damage to his elbow on that first one, if he actually damaged it in the warm-up.
Arms right at the extremity of the bar, 20 seconds in moving. Needs this.
Oof. Well,
is that a dislocation?
That's a dislocation.
Yeah, it's a dislocation.
It looks a lot worse than it is.
But it is pretty horrible nonetheless.
Oh, it's horrible. We've seen this a few times, but what will actually happen is it's very painful. The doctor will put it back into place, and hopefully he won't have torn any ligaments. He'll have just stretched some. But this was worrying. When he first came out onto the platform, he was holding his elbow after that first snatch, and oof, there it is again.
Yeah, I mean I hope we don't really need to see that again, because it's really horrible, isn't it? I mean, and the pain is excruciating.
Nevertheless, we're going to see it again. Yes, and there's quite a few lifters whose careers have been finished by injuries like that.
Well, do you remember Plamen Yeliashkov in Riza? And came back almost...
yeah, it was amazing.
Half a dozen months later to take the world title.
That's right.
Right. This is the Romanian Vlad, back on the platform to take his third attempt of 185 kilos. Now he weighs 104.04, and that's pretty good because that 185 kilos puts him into second place in the snatch. Now still to start, Alexandru Bratin of Moldavia, Igor Razorenov of the Ukraine, Vyacheslav Ivanov of Russia, and this is Metin Kadir. Kadir is currently down in seventh place. He's weighing in at 104 kilos, 104.12. Now, if he does this, he's going to push Robert Deleja of Poland off the medal podium, at least for a while, although the Pole has got one more attempt left to counter-attack. Kadir. Well done to him. So he goes to third place. Thomas Kurov, thanks for the clarification. I didn't know this, but thank you for educating us. Ossetia, known as Alanya, a republic in the Russian Federation, and that's where Chagayev hails from. He's actually born in Vladimir and moved to Bulgaria to join the Bulgarian Olympic team. So thank you for that. Well, the pressure doesn't come much bigger, does it, David? This to stay alive in the competition.
Yes, so if he fails this, both Turks will be out. Out of the snatch and the overall, anyway.
And I would not put a lot of money on this man doing this.
I'd like him to do it. I think he's strong enough. It's just
technique.
He's just put himself under a lot of pressure. It'd have been better starting lighter. He's just started right on the limit.
Oh, he's done it. Well done. Well, I'm glad he's proved me wrong. And 185 kilos. And Turkey have got one man still in the race. Question, Alan, your other question, is the host nation allowed to have a lifter in every weight class? Well, technically, David, the answer to the question there is yes, but not every lifter may actually end up being in the A final because it's all graded according to performance. But if Turkey have got talent, for example, or any country for that matter, like the Chinese, for example, to put lifters, competitive lifters, in every class, up to 2 may be entered in every weight class.
That's right. You're allowed. You are allowed 2 in each weight class, but you're not allowed 2 in every weight class.
The Olympics is different because it's done on a points qualification system, so there is a limit there, and there's a limit per country for the number of lifters. But in the World Championships, you could enter 2 per weight class in every category. There's no limit in the World Championships.
Right.
Now, first appearance of Razorenov for the Ukraine. The Ukraine, who've held this 105 kilo title for the last 2 championships. And Razorenov himself was champion in 1998, and he wants to be champion in 2001.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure that's correct. I think you're allowed a team of 8 men.
No.
But if you want to double up in some weight classes, you can, but you can't actually take any more competitors. So you could have 2 in a weight class, but you'd have to miss somebody in another weight class.
We're not sure. We'll check and find out.
Check on that one. That's what it used to be.
Now that's interesting now.
Otherwise you could take 16 men and 14 women, couldn't you, or whatever.
Well, there's very few countries that could actually field that sort of strength. The Chinese would be one of them. But anyway, back here now, Razorunov in second place, but he's 10 kilos behind the Shmochkov of Russia. And here's the other Russian, who for a while lifted for Israel, Ivanovsky. First attempt, and that wasn't high enough on his head, and he goes out with 2 more attempts to come. Still no David Bratan to come.
Yes, a lot of speed there, but didn't finish the pull. So he pulled it very, very fast, brought his hips in, and then dived under into that squat position without having finished the first phase of the lift, which of course is the pull.
Well, here's a man who lifted 190 kilos in the Olympic Games, finished 6th, really suffered on the clean and jerk, and only managed 220, which totaled him up to 410, and that's where he struggled. Now, I can only think that he must feel that he's in reasonable condition, starting at 187.5. 190 is his PB. Come on. Good. And I think he might just relax a little bit, and the next one might be better. Depends whether he goes 2.5 or more.
I have to say, though, of the men, I mean, everybody's started now. And of the men that I've seen and the attempts I've seen, I still can't see anybody getting anywhere near that snatch of 197.5. And in fact, to take the gold medal in the snatch, these athletes would have to do 200, because with the exception of the Greek lifter, who weighed in very light but only managed to snatch of 167, the man from the B session.
Well, no, actually, the man from the B session is actually heavier than Bratan, the man who's just gone into second place. And so Bratan certainly could go ahead of him.
That's right, yeah, he'd need to do 100, but he'd need to do 197.5.
Yeah.
So, maybe.
Well, it's not a good day at the office so far for Vyacheslav Ivanovsky, European champion back in 1998. Actually born in Novosibirsk, went to Israel, lifted for Israel, got a bronze medal in the 1996 European Championships, but by 1998 he'd gone back to Russia. Now, Robert Deleja with plenty of Polish support in the hall. Now, he was at one time in a medal position. Now, 187.5, he weighs 104.32. So this would put him into bronze medal position, but Razorunov, who would be pushing down to 4th, has got 2 lifts to come, and he can't do it. So just remind you the website address for us, www.weightlifting.de, with links there through, of course, to Club Eurosport.
Vyacheslav Ivanovsky, Rusya, 187,5 kilogram, 3. kaldı. Vyacheslav Ivanovsky.
Big thank you to all of you who are watching right across Europe. I gather that on some of our sessions we've had almost 2 million of you as company out there across Eurosport land, and that's very encouraging. So now Ivanovsky under real pressure now, Dave. This is to stay in 187.5. Well, he may have a little leap of joy, but he's a long way off. He's 10 kilos off the lead. Still in the competition, he's gone up to 4th place. But as you pointed out right at the beginning, David, Shmoshkov of Russia, 4:22, and at the moment everybody's 10 kilos off the pace, so it's going to be really hard to catch him. So Tabakoli now, the Olympic champion, Hussein Tabakoli, onto the stage, representing Iran, of course. The Olympics, absolutely the greatest moment of his career. He's been lifting now for a little bit more than 10 years. Didn't like 190, did he?
Well, I said I watched him in the training room, and I've seen him before, and he just looked sluggish. He looked just slightly under par on everything that he was doing.
Well, if he's left on 185, if he fails next time, there's no way he's going to catch. Well, just let's do the maths here, David.
Well, he's done a jerk at his best. He's done a jerk of 235. Yeah. So if he gets 190, he's still in there with a chance. If he only does 185, then he's going to be struggling. He's got to break the world record, and pretty special. And I don't think he's in that kind of form today.
And Chagayev, the silver medalist, hasn't shown himself to be in good form. Bratan's alive there. The other interesting defection, David, is actually the Olympic bronze medalist who was on the original list, Saeed Saif Assad from Qatar. And he was would have been the lightest of the medalists from Sydney.
Number 3, Hussein Tabakoli from Iran, 190 kilograms.
So now Tabakoli, 190 for a third time. He's got to get this to stay in touch.
Yes, I don't hold out much hope, but
it's simple to say. It's going to be a lot more difficult to achieve. Razaronov still in the wings for Ukraine with 2 lifts to come.
Well, that was a better effort, but it just doesn't seem to have any explosive power today.
Well, I was going to say I didn't think it was much better at all, to be honest.
Well, he just pulled the first one. At least on this one, he made an effort to get under it. So Razaronov.
So technically, Chagayev, the Olympic silver medalist, has got a third snatch, but he's been absent for some time now. He was out with a failure of 182.5. I can't see him coming in anymore. So effectively, Bratin has got 1, Razaronov has got 2, and we are still, in the case of Razaronov, 10 kilos off the leader. Bratin is a little bit closer, 7.5 kilos off the pace. So Razaronov could be interesting, because if he can get this, David, then he's going to be within sort of biting distance of the Russian.
But that again was nowhere near, so the Russian really way out in front at the moment.
At Razaronov, 4th in the Olympics, 227.5. 5th in Europe this year, 225. So even if he improves on the clean and jerk by, let's say, 5 kilos, he's still going to struggle to get to Shmoshkov.
Yes, so this the man who is slightly lighter than the B group lifter, coming on 192.5, and even if he does this, it's still not enough to take the gold. But it will secure his silver medal.
Well, in second place, Razaronov's got one more lift, but he is, as you say, heavier, so he'd have to go to 195 if he wants the silver. That's Razaronov.
No, 192 if he wants the silver. Razaronov.
Razaronov is heavier.
No, but 192. He's taking 192 next. This guy's done 190, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he is heavier. Yeah, if that guy had succeeded, then the Moldavian had succeeded with a 92, then Razaronov would have had, if he'd wanted the silver, would have had to take 95. As it is, this would be enough, but he wasn't really close with his second attempt. So to do this, he's really going to have to hang on for longer in that first phase before dipping under the bar. Well, it was better, but it wasn't quite good enough. So that is the snatch competition decided. The man from the B group, Vladimir, the Russian, weighing in at 103.24, snatching 197.5 in the competition, but of course that 198 for the world record.
Well, for me, this is an embarrassment for the sport, David. To have the man who leads the competition not participating in the final, it's a bit like you know, the winner of the 100 meters coming out of the semi-final. It really shows up a weakness, and if he ultimately goes on and takes the title, then I think that's a warning, really, that they've got to change the system.
So,
and he's away in the night. That's Alpak Abdulaziz Alpak of Turkey.
Yeah, just for the people at home, I would like to emphasise again that although it looks horrific, it isn't actually that horrific, and it's very likely that we'll see him lifting here later on in the year in the European Championships.
Shmorshkov of Russia leads a new world record of 198 kilos. Bratan of Moldavia, the silver, and Razaronov, the former world champion in this weight class, in third place, but he's 10 kilos off the place. And look at this, David. I mean, these men are an eternity behind.
That's right, for him to lose the overall, I mean, he did a reasonable clean and jerk to 225 to give him that total of 422.5. So for these men to beat him on the clean and jerk, they've got to be up around 235, 237.
Well, we've got to take our leave of you shortly because we're going to football. But before we do, a chance to have a look at some of the women's lifts from earlier today. Well, this is Idahosa of Nigeria. In fact, I think we are indeed going to have to run away to football in a moment.